Chapmans is a small but mighty letting agency based in Edinburgh in Scotland. We have lots of different types of clients because we offer lots of different services to our landlords. Over the last few years, a significant part of our growth has come from what we call our switcher landlords. A switcher landlord is someone who has perhaps been a landlord for a number of years with another agency, but it's now just come to a head and they've decided that they don't want to move to somebody else. It's a bit like changing your bank, really. We hear lots of different reasons as to why a landlord would perhaps want to switch agencies, because we really take the time to understand the why behind this decision, as it's not something a landlord should take lightly. Some of the reasons we hear are things like, oh, it's so annoying that I have to press 1 for this, 2 to speak to accounts, 3 to speak to maintenance, 4 to speak to somebody else, and then only end up speaking to somebody that doesn't know me, or who knows me but doesn't know my property, or knows a property but doesn't know the tenant. It's just incredibly frustrating having that disconnect. I have numerous conversations with switcher landlords about their frustration with repairs, how they are handled, the costs associated with those. Some conversations are triggered because a landlord has been out to see their property, perhaps for the first time in a long time, and they have found a massive disconnect between what they were expecting to see and the condition of the property and what the reality actually is. Generally though, it all comes down to service. A landlord, understandably, just wants to be able to speak to one person about everything to do with their property and feel really confident that there's a common sense approach to every decision that is being taken. Switching agencies is a really big decision, and it's one that we really want to make sure our clients are absolutely certain about before we actually move to the next steps. And what we will do is really understand what the key issues are, and then we'll make a plan accordingly. We have some clients who actually speak to us a whole year before they actually make the move, and some clients who move immediately. We just really want to take the stress and the hassle out of that process and move when it's right for our landlords. But what I would say is we do regularly hear, once that landlord has made the switch, they sometimes say to us, oh, I wish I'd done this sooner. With us, we really take the time to get to know you, and we invite you in to meet the team, and most importantly, we make the opportunity to go out and see the property. We want to make sure that we've fully understood all your issues and what you really want going forward before you press that button on the switch. So, our landlords are unique, their properties are unique, and their tenants are unique. And so we need to make sure that we tailor our approach to suit your individual circumstances. Now, sometimes it can work really well to actually keep the tenants that you have. And in that situation, one of the easiest things for you to do is authorise us to speak to your existing agency. And in that way, we deal business to business, contact the existing agency and ask them to release to us information such as the inventory, the safety certificates, the energy performance certificate, the lease that you have in place. And we'll also work with that agency to make sure we transfer the deposit that's held with the scheme that they use to the scheme that we use. So we can do all of that and take an awful lot of anxiety and stress out of the process, so you don't really actually have to do very much at all. What we can also do, depending on the type of tenancy that's in place, we can actually end that tenancy. So say, for example, your tenants are on a short assured tenancy agreement. Usually we might say to you, okay, ask your current agency to issue a Section 33 notice and a notice to quit and end that tenancy. They can then deal with all the move-out procedure. They can work through any deductions that might need to be taken from the tenant's deposit. But you can then ask that agency not to proceed to remarket the property, and we would then step in at that point. But you may have tenants who are on the new PRT, the Private Residential Tenancy Agreement, which came into force on the 1st of December 2017. Now, if that sort of tenancy is in place, we might need to take a different approach altogether. So really what it comes down to is we work out what the situation is, and then we plan accordingly and take it from there. This is a good question. There are agencies that do have termination fees embedded into their contracts, and that can be fair enough, especially if you're moving with the tenants that they have found. However, what we find is that if the reason for the switch has been down to a catalogue of errors and there's been a relationship breakdown, we generally find in those circumstances that the agency doesn't enforce that fee. They understand if they've been found wanting, and they generally make it as easy as possible for you to move on and just end that relationship in as amicable way as possible. But from our end, we don't charge any additional fees for switching you across from another agency. So the first steps is really just a phone call. Pick up the phone, have a chat with us, and then we can plan a meeting and work out the issues and plan the next stages that would suit you.